Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
When we talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu, the first thing to note is that it's not just another random Star Wars spin-off. It's directly tied to the Mandalorian series that kicked off back in 2019. The title even makes that crystal clear, since it borrows the name from the show, but adds Din Djarin's little green companion Grogu. That detail alone shows how central Grogu has become to the story, because it's no longer just Din's journey, it's their journey. This upcoming movie is expected to continue the story right where Season 3 of The Mandalorian left off, which makes it less of a separate project and more like a natural extension of the show, only now shifting from the small screen to the big one. Now, Star Wars as a franchise has experimented with this TV to movie and movie to TV pipeline before, but always in one direction. For instance, Star Wars The Clone Wars started as a movie and then expanded into a hugely successful animated show. And then there's Rogue One, which eventually got its own prequel story with Andor, a series that's been praised to the skies for its writing and darker tone. But here's the kicker. While the franchise has been good at turning films into series, it hasn't really gone the other way around. We've never seen a TV series actually morph into a movie until now. And honestly, when you think about it, The Mandalorian was always the obvious choice to be the first. There's a reason for that. In just a few short years, Din Djarin and Grogu have become two of the most recognizable names in Star Wars history. The whole thing took off almost overnight because Grogu, better known to casual fans as Baby Yoda, became a cultural icon, and Din's cool, stoic bounty hunter vibe gave fans a new kind of lead to root for. The series itself has always felt cinematic. Even though it's a show, the production design, the special effects, and the way the story has been structured have always made it look like something you could see in theaters. So really, it was just a matter of time before Disney and Lucasfilm realized the obvious: The Mandalorian belongs on the big screen. One of the most exciting details about the upcoming movie is the inclusion of Garazeb Zeb Orrelios. Fans of Star Wars Rebels know Zeb very well, since he was a key member of the Phoenix Cell throughout the show's entire run. And thanks to recent footage and stills shown during Star Wars Celebration Japan, it looks like Zeb is going to have a proper role in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, this isn't the first time Star Wars has taken a character who started in animation and moved them into live action. Saw Gerrera was the first major example. He debuted in The Clone Wars before showing up in Rogue One. But the difference here is that Saw wasn't part of the main cast in his original show, while Zeb very much was. That makes Zeb's leap to the big screen a bigger milestone because it signals that Star Wars is serious about integrating its animated legacy into live-action films. And honestly, this kind of move makes sense because animation has been carrying Star Wars for years now. Shows like The Clone Wars, Rebels, and The Bad Batch have built up lore and developed characters that rival the movies in importance. By bringing Zeb into the movie world, Lucasfilm is telling fans that those animated shows matter and that those characters are just as real as the ones we first met in theaters decades ago. Another big deal about this movie is Grogu himself. Star Wars has always been known for its endless variety of alien species, but let's be real. Most of the main heroes in the movies have been human, usually paired with a droid sidekick. Aliens usually show up as secondary characters or quirky sidekicks. Grogu flips that dynamic on its head because he's not human at all, yet he's right there in the title of the film as one of the two stars. This is a massive shift for Star Wars because it's acknowledging that a non-human can carry just as much weight in the story as a traditional protagonist. What's also interesting is how little we actually know about Grogu's species. Fans still just call it Yoda's species because it's so mysterious. But instead of that mystery being a drawback, it's turned into a strength. People are fascinated by Grogu's origins, his powers, and his future. And even though the creators haven't revealed much, it doesn't matter because the little guy has already won the audience over. In fact, Pedro Pascal, who plays Din, often jokes about Grogu being the real star of the show. And in some ways, that's true. Grogu's inclusion as a co-lead in a feature film shows how the franchise is willing to break its own mold and push deeper into its science fiction roots. Now, let's talk about where the movie was filmed, because that's a surprisingly historic point. Every single live-action Star Wars movie up until this one has been filmed overseas. The original trilogy and sequels were mostly shot in the UK, while the prequels were largely based in Australia. But The Mandalorian and Grogu was filmed almost entirely in California. That might not sound like a big deal at first, but it really is, because it brings Star Wars back to Hollywood in a way it hasn't been in decades. The reason for this choice comes down to technology. The Volume soundstage, which was developed for the Mandalorian series, is located in California. This innovative digital set lets the actors and crew see the environments around them in real time, instead of relying only on green or blue screens. It gives directors more flexibility, makes the visuals look more authentic, and ultimately saves money. So while it's not a huge surprise that the movie followed the same path as the series, it's still worth pointing out how significant this is. It feels symbolic because Star Wars was originally dreamed up in California nearly 50 years ago. In a sense, the story is coming home. And if this trend catches on, we might see more franchises following suit, filming domestically with this cutting-edge technology instead of globe-trotting to shoot on location. The next major talking point is box office potential. Right now, the highest-grossing Star Wars movie is The Force Awakens, which pulled in over $2 billion worldwide. That's an almost unbeatable number, but The Mandalorian and Grogu has a real shot at challenging it. Why? Timing and star power. By the time this film releases, it'll be the first Star Wars movie to hit theaters in 7 years. That alone builds hype. But the bigger factor is Grogu. The cultural phenomenon of Baby Yoda is impossible to overstate. There are people who have never seen a single episode of The Mandalorian but still own Grogu merchandise. The global obsession with him has already proven to be a goldmine for Disney, and the chance to see him on the big screen will be irresistible for millions of fans. While this film stands apart, it's also part of a larger wave of upcoming Star Wars projects. Daisy Ridley returns in a movie set 15 years after the rise of Skywalker, as Rey attempts to build a new Jedi Order. James Mangold is developing Dawn of the Jedi, a story set 25,000 years earlier, focusing on the origins of the Jedi. Simon Kinberg is writing a new trilogy inspired by The Empire Strikes Back and Andor, and Dave Filoni is preparing a crossover film uniting The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and other New Republic-era stories. What makes The Mandalorian and Grogu special is that it's not just another spin-off, it's a cultural phenomenon making the leap to theaters, pushing Star Wars into fresh territory while staying rooted in what fans love. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.